Presence of members of the County Assembly of Kakamega, whom you acknowledged with your foot thumping, and Honorable Chepkonga welcomed them. I'm told they were in fact not in the gallery at all at the time. They have just arrived. And the delegation from our friendly country, Zambia, was in the gallery but sitting in the wrong place. So allow me to revisit the same. The delegation from Kakamega, which I already mentioned, I don't need to recite what they are here for, are as follows. When you are mentioned, you may stand up individually to be acknowledged. Honorable Charles Nandwa, Chairperson. Honorable Stephen Muhala, Vice Chair. Honorable Bernard Omboko, Member. Honorable Peter Walunya, Member. Honorable Doris Matere, Member. Honorable Josephat Wakuha, Member. Honorable Helmina Lanziva, Member. Honorable Angela Nelima, Member. And the Honorable Timothy Anzenze, Member. We have already acknowledged you and welcomed you, and the Honorable Chepkonga has also done so, confirming that you appeared before his committee where there were 2 cabinet secretaries. You are welcome to the House of Parliament. Honorable members, I also wish to introduce to you a delegation from the Parliament of Zambia, who are seated in the Speaker's row. The delegation comprises members of the Public Accounts Committee in the Parliament of Zambia. They are 1. Honorable Warren C. Mwambazi, lead of the delegation. 2. Honorable Jacqueline Sabao, member. 3. Honorable Imanga Wamunyima, member. 4. Honorable Likandro Mufalali, member. 5. Honorable Victor Lumai, member. 6. Honorable Kalalwe Mukosa, member. 7. Honorable Nicholas Mukumbi, member. And 8. Honorable Jonathan Daka, member. The delegation is accompanied by 6 staff from the National Assembly, the Minister of Finance and the National Planning, and the Office of the Auditor General of Zambia. Honorable members, the delegation is on a visit to benchmark on the best practices and share experiences with their counterpart committees of the House dealing with financial, audit, and money-related matters. On my behalf and on your behalf and the National Assembly as a whole, I welcome them to the Parliament and wish them fruitful engagements during the stay. Thank you. Honorable members, we are going to orders number 8 and 9. The House Business Committee directed this afternoon that these 2 orders will take 1 hour. Order number 8, 30 minutes. Order number 9, 30 minutes. So that we can go to the Committee of Supply. Before we invite the mover at order number 8, the Honorable Junet has approached the chair saying he has a point of order. Can you go ahead and prosecute it? Give Honorable Junet the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to seek your indulgence on a matter that Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to seek your indulgence on a matter that Parliament has raised publicly for public participation. Mr. Speaker, there are 2 bills that have been advertised for public participation, and one of the bills is the privatization bill. But when the matter came to the House, the bill was referred to the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee have published it for public participation. But Mr. Speaker, under the new standing orders now, this parliament now, there was a committee that has been created that's called Public Debt and Privatization, who are also seized of the matter of privatization. So, Mr. Speaker, I was seeking your indulgence that if the two committees can do jointly the scrutiny of the bill and the interaction with the public participation, so that they can come up with a report that is jointly done so that it can benefit, because they also oversight privatization, the other committee. So, Mr. Speaker, I was seeking your indulgence that the committee has requested, as the whip might, to address to you that if they can be allowed to do a joint participation, so that they can have a joint report, and then both committees can benefit from the report of the public participation, so that later when the bill is assented to, it doesn't get into problem with the other committee that is supposed to use it for oversighting purposes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Junet, I'll direct the clerk to bring the two bills to me. I'll have to look at them with the attendant standing orders, and I'll give you direction on Thursday afternoon. Honorable Koech, you have 30 minutes to prosecute this motion. I would encourage you that even as you are entitled to close to 15 minutes in moving, take much less time so that one or two members can be allowed to contribute.
Thank you once more, Honorable Speaker. I'll be very brief. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations, in its report on the vetting of the nominee for the appointment of the Director General of the National Intelligence Service, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 6th June 2023, and pursuant to Section 7(3)(b) of the National Intelligence Service Act 2012, this House approves the the appointment of Mr. Nordin Haji, OGW, CBS, as the Director General of the National Intelligence Service. Honorable Speaker, the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations is one of the 15 departmental committees of the National Assembly established under Standing Order 216, whose mandates, pursuant to the Standing Order 216.5, includes, among others, to vet and report on all appointments where the Constitution or any other law requires National Assembly approval, except those under Standing Order 204, Committee on Appointments. Honorable Speaker, the subjects of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations are stated in the second schedule of the National Assembly standing orders, and they include defense, intelligence, foreign relations, diplomatic and consular services, international boundaries, including territorial waters, international relations, and veteran affairs. Honorable Speaker, the report before the House details the proceedings during the approval hearing of Mr. Nordin Mohammed Haji, a nominee for appointment as Director General of the National Intelligence Service. Honorable Speaker, through a letter dated 18th of May 2023, His Excellency the President notified the National Assembly of the nomination of Mr. Nordin Haji as Director General of the National Intelligence Service. Then your office, through communication made on Friday, 19th May 2023, conveyed to the members of the National Assembly the message from His Excellency the President. You subsequently referred the nominees' CV and testimonials to the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations for approval hearings. While referring the matter to the committee, Mr. Speaker, you directed that the committee undertakes the vetting exercise in accordance with Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act number 33 of 2011. Honorable Speaker, in compliance with Article 118 of the Constitution and Section 6(4) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act number 33 of 2011,
Order, members, the consultations are
the Clerk of the National...
Honorable Didymus, take your seat. The consultations are too loud.
The Clerk of the National Assembly... Shall I proceed?
Yes. Continue.
The Clerk of the National Assembly placed an advertisement on the print media on Saturday, 20th May 2023, informing the public of the nomination, date, time, and place of the approval hearing. He also invited the public to submit memoranda by way of written statements on oath affidavits, and suitability of the nominee in conformity with Section 6, Subsection 9 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Act number 33 of 2011. The memoranda were received on or before Monday, 29th May 2023 at 5 p.m. Honorable Speaker, the committee received 26 memoranda on the nominee, 4 against and 22 in favor of the nominee's suitability. Further, the Clerk of the National Assembly wrote to the Kenya Revenue Authority, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, DCI, Higher Education Loans Board, and Office of the Registrar of Political Parties seeking references and background checks relating to the suitability of the nominee, and all responded in the affirmative. Honorable Speaker, the nominee appeared before the committee on Tuesday, 30th May 2023 at 2:30 p.m. for an approval hearing. The committee examined its suitability based on the criteria set out on Section 7 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act number 33 of 2011. The committee examined his academic credentials, relevant experience, knowledge of sector issues, and leadership and integrity. The committee paid due regard to the procedure used to arrive at the nominee. Any constitutional or statutory requirements relating to the Office of Director General of the National Intelligence Service and suitability of the nominee for the appointment proposed, having regard to whether the nominee's abilities, experience, and qualities met the needs of the agency. Honorable Speaker, the committee conducted the approval hearing of the nominee and observed as follows. Number 1, that the procedure used to arrive at the nominee accords with Section 7, Subsection 2 of the National Intelligence Service Act, number 28 of 2012, which provides that the President shall nominate a person for appointment as the Director General and submit the name of the nominee to the National Assembly. Indeed, His Excellency the President on Thursday, 18th May 2023, communicated the name of the nominee for appointment to the position of Director General of the National Intelligence Service to the Speaker for approval by the National Assembly. Number 2, Honorable Speaker, that the nominee meets the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity having been cleared from the following statutory bodies, that is the EACC, Kenya Revenue Authority, DCI, Office of Registrar of Political Parties, and the Higher Education Loans Board. Number 3, that in accordance with Article 78, 1 and 2 of the Constitution and Section 8, Subsection 1A of the National Intelligence Act 2012, the nominee is eligible for appointment as a state officer since he is a Kenyan citizen and does not hold a dual citizenship. Number 4, that the nominee complies with Section 8, 1B of the National Intelligence Service Act 2012, which requires that the DG, that is the Director General, holds a degree from a recognized university in Kenya, and indeed, the nominee holds a master's degree in national security policy, with merit from the Australian National University, which he acquired in 2014, a master in law, LLM, from the University of Wales, Cardiff, which he acquired in 1997, and a Bachelor of Law, LLB, from the University of Wales, which he acquired in 1996. Honorable Speaker, in terms of academic credential, Nordin Haji, you can say, is extremely knowledgeable and well-read in many fields, particularly with a bias in law. Number 5, Honorable Speaker, that the nominee has held the following positions. Number 1, Director of Public Prosecutions, which he held from March 2018 to date. Deputy Director of Counter-Organized Crime in the National Intelligence Service, which he held from June 2016 to 2017. He was the Deputy Director of Administration Internal Division of the National Intelligence Service from January 2015 to June 2016. He was the head of Somali stabilization at the National Intelligence Service from 2010 to 2013. He was the head of countering violence. No, countering violent extremism at the National Intelligence Service from 2009 to 2010. He was the head of legal department at the National Intelligence Service from 2005 to 2009. He was the deputy head of legal department of the National Intelligence Service 2000 to 2005. State counsel with the Attorney General's office from January to December of the year 2000. Honorable Speaker, if you look at his CV and from the unofficial records, if you talk to the people who work with the National Intelligence Service, they find Mr. Nordin Haji as almost a natural fit. Number one, because he has worked there before with the National Intelligence Service. And number two, many a times they have had a Director General being moved from either the police or the other security agencies, and for the first time, they are having one of their own as the Director of the National Intelligence Service. Nordin Haji is going back here, not as if this House finds favor and approves him, not as a stranger, but as someone who has risen through the ranks in the National Intelligence Service from a very, I will call, relatively junior office to a very senior office by the time he left to go to be the Director of Public Prosecution. It is notable to note that some of the questions that honorable members of my committee did ask Mr. Nordin Haji, I'll move very quickly. One of them is that if all this favor that he finds is because he's the son of former Senator Yusuf Haji, and he was extremely proud to say that, which is something honorable colleagues should actually take up, that he's very proud son of the former public service officer and the late Senator Yusuf Haji, because it is his father who's instilled discipline in him, and it is something we should probably borrow. That today, Honorable Speaker, we would like to have your son one day being the Speaker of this National Assembly, because you are one of the greatest speakers when you leave office that will have served in this 13th Parliament. It is the same thing that honorable colleagues here, that today or tomorrow the son or the daughter of my friend Junet Mohammed can come to this House as a member of Parliament because of the good deeds that we do in society. So indeed, it is because of that fact and the discipline that he got from his father that he has found favor in his, some of the offices that he's worked in. But that notwithstanding the fact that he's equally a very hard-working person, an extremely humble fellow. Honorable Speaker, that the nominee has never been charged in any court of law in the past 3 years, and a requirement and schedule of the Public Appointments Act. I have a long story about Mr. Haji, but because of time, I will go straight to my last point, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee therefore recommends that the National Assembly approves the nomination of Mr. Nordin Haji for appointment as Director General of the National Intelligence Service. I beg to move and urge my deputy to second.
Who is your deputy? Honorable Bashir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to second the motion that this House approves the appointment of Mr. Nordin Mohammed Haji as the Director General of the National Intelligence Service. Honorable Speaker, as has been said by my chairman, the committee paid due regard to the procedures used to arrive at the nominee, having met all the constitutional and statutory requirements relating to the office of Director General of the National Intelligence Service, and suitability of the nominee for the appointment proposed, having regard to whether the nominee's abilities, experience, and qualities meet the needs of the agency. Honorable Speaker, upon conclusion of the approval hearings, we scrutinize the personal, academic, and career background of the nominee, and we are fully convinced that he fits the role of the Director General of National Intelligence Service. Indeed, we established that the nominee, Mr. Nordin Mohammed Haji, meets the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity, having been cleared from the following statutory bodies: the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Kenya Revenue Authority, the Director of Criminal Investigations, Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, and the Higher Education Loan Board, and all of them gave a clean bill of health. 2, the nominee complies with the Section 81B of the National Intelligence Service Act, whereby he meets all the requirements pertaining to the appointment of the Office of the Director General. That the nominee has held the following positions and in total has had a career spanning over 18 years in the public service, most of it having been performed at the National Intelligence Service at senior levels. Honorable Speaker, the nominee has not been charged in any court of law, and therefore this also informed us on his suitability. The nominee does not hold any office in a political party, and that also was a requirement of the schedule to the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approvals Act. Honorable Speaker, during the approval hearing, the nominee demonstrated knowledge of topical, administrative, and technical issues touching on the government, and has thus the requisite abilities, qualifications, and experience to serve as the Director General of the National Intelligence Service. During the approval hearings, we received 26 memorandums. Out of this, 4 were against and 22 were in favor of the nominees. Those that were against also, we scrutinized and looked at their background, whether they could sway the government, the committee's decision. But all those memos did not stand on legal grounds, and therefore we could not consider them. Honorable Speaker, with that, and having considered the credential of the nominee, we wish to assure this House and the country at large that the right man for the job for this particular new appointment is Nordin Mohammed Haji, and he fits the bill. As has been said before, Nordin Haji comes from a career family. His late father was a career civil servant. His mother is also a career civil servant, and therefore has had long piece of career in the public service.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I want to urge this House to consider the nominee and approve his nomination so that he serves in this position as soon as possible. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I second the motion and urge the House to adopt this report. Thank you very much.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, a question cannot be put before it is proposed. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as the Director General of the National Intelligence Service, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 6th June 2023, and pursuant to Section 7(3)(b) of the National Intelligence Service Act 2012, this House approves the appointment of Mr. Nuruddin Mohammed Haji, OGW CBS, as the Director General of the National Intelligence Service. I have at least 2 people who have walked to me and requested to be given an opportunity. I will oblige them. The first one is the Honorable Junet Mohammed, and each one of you has 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Give Junet Mohammed the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support the approval and this motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank also the Departmental Committee for Foreign Affairs and International Relations for the good work and the research they have done, Mr. Speaker, and presented to this House. And I can see that the officer that has been nominated for this job is a distinguished officer, Mr. Speaker. who has served in the service very well, who has an exemplary career, Mr. Speaker, in the service. And Mr. Speaker, I think is one appointment that is going to move this country forward, Mr. Speaker, and this should be an example of all appointments that will be brought to this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is an important institution in our country, Mr. Speaker. This is an institution that is going to protect and provide the safety of the citizens of this country, Mr. Speaker, and for that reason, is an institution that must be headed and guided by somebody who has the capacity, the knowledge, and the temerity to do the kind of work that is related to that institution, Mr. Speaker, and no one fits, and the skills required to do this work, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to put forward that on record that this is the person who will make sure that this country is safe and secure, and I have no doubt, in accordance with the report that has been brought by the committee, that he is a man who has the capacity and the capability, and I urge the House to approve him, Mr. Speaker, so that he can go and do his work. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I also rise to support the nomination and approval of the former DPP, or immediate former DPP, Nuruddin Haji. Honorable Speaker, as has been said in the report, this is a gentleman who the people of Kenya know very well, one who has served the office that he has served in as DPP with unmatched integrity, Honorable Speaker. But, Honorable Speaker, he is getting into an office that is extremely sensitive. The office of the Director General of NIS is a repository of our national security. Honorable Speaker, I am certain that the committee during vetting did engage with him in depth, and definitely knowing that matters security are not matters to delve into in depth. But we must tell Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Nuruddin, that before we have seen incidences like those of Shakahola, incidences of rampant attacks by terrorists in Lamu, in northern Kenya, and I am glad Nuruddin is from northern Kenya, and therefore he has a responsibility as he safeguards the lives and property of Kenyans, first to safeguard the lives and properties of people in northern Kenya and along the coastal belt bordering the border with Somalia. Honorable Speaker, we are all in the East African region, Greater East African region, in very unsafe regions in terms of security. And therefore, the Director General of NIS will be critical in ensuring not just the safety of our country, but also guaranteeing the safety of our neighbors and ensuring that insecurity coming from our neighbors, from the war in Sudan, the war in Congo, the ongoing war in Somalia, does not in any way infringe on the safety and security of Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, I also hope and I pray, and I know that Nuruddin Haji is a dedicated public servant who will never allow state capture to take over his office as Director General of NIS. That NIS will never be used like it was used before to settle political scores. That the Honorable Junet Mohammed will feel safe, just as I will feel safe with Nuruddin Haji holding the office of Director General NIS. And I want to pray and wish him well, and pray that the House will this afternoon approve Nuruddin Haji as our next Director of NIS, wishing him well and hoping that he will act to ensure that he ignites intelligence services right at the sublocation level, that never again will Kenyans experience the Shakahola kind of tragedy that we have experienced, where over a period of more than 10 years, Kenyans have been killed and their bodies buried in a forest in Malindi, in Shakahola. And Honorable Speaker, you must ask yourself, there are chiefs, there are intelligence officers in Malindi, in Kilifi, in Shakahola. Honorable Speaker, you remember in the last 5 years, it was said hundreds of people disappeared, and forced disappearances and extrajudicial killings. And Honorable Speaker, we have asked elsewhere, is it possible that those who are subjected to extrajudicial killings under the last regime are part of those who are buried in Shakahola. And I want to ask Noordin Haji to ensure that he goes to the depth of the extrajudicial killings under the former regime and under DCI Kinoti, and check whether there is any correlation between Shakahola, the massacre and burying of bodies in Shakahola, and the extrajudicial killings that were perpetuated in the last 5 years, Honorable Speaker. And with those, I beg to strongly support this great son of Garissa County, a great son of Kenya, whose family also, Mr. Speaker, has served this country. His father, not just as senator, but also as an experienced administrator and security man in the past. And I do hope that the DPP Noordin Haji will follow in the footsteps of his late father and the footsteps of other intelligence chiefs who have secured our country, and I wish him all the best. I beg to support.
Honorable Zamzam, Mombasa.
Asante sana Bwana Spika, na mimi pia niweze kupigia pono mjadala huu wa leo ama uamuzi utakaotoka hapa leo kuhusu ndugu yetu Noordin Haji. Noordin Haji nimemjua toka nikiwa msichana mdogo, wakati walikuwa wanakaa Kakamega na babake akiwa PC. Hata babangu alipofariki, babake ndo alonilipia mimi school fees nikamaliza high school. Na Noordin Haji toka akiwa kijana mdogo alikuwa ni mtu mtanashati, ni mtu mchapakazi. Na hata alipohudumu katika ofisi ya NIS kama naibu, alifanya kazi safi sana. Ni mtu ambaye ni msomi. Kama tunatafuta wasomi, Noordin Haji ni mtu msomi na ni mtu ambaye ana bidii. Kwa hiyo kama mama Mombasa County, na kazi ambayo niliona amefanya katika ofisi ya NIS na hapa ambapo alihudumu mwisho, mimi kama mama Mombasa County namtakia kila la kheri katika kiti hichi, na naomba wabunge wa bunge hili sote tumpe support aweze kuhudumia wa Kenya. Asante sana Bwana Speaker.
Honorable members, I have order. I have 5 minutes. Honorable member standing in the walkway, take your seats. I have 5 minutes to go. I have so many requests. I'll give Kainan 1 minute. Hold on, Kainan. Hold on. Kainan, I'm saying hold on. I'll give you 1 minute. I'll give the member Farah 1 minute. Otienda Molo 1 minute. And KJ 1 minute. That will be 1 minute left for the mover to reply. So go on in that order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, let me say I support this report. Mr. Speaker, I was the chairman of this committee between 2007 and 2013 at a very difficult time during the Grand Coalition government. I have interacted with Noordin as an advocate, as an intelligence officer, and currently as the DPP, and now being confirmed today, inshallah, as the next DG. Mr. Speaker, in all this, what is coming out is Noordin is a quintessential, pragmatic intelligence officer, Mr. Speaker, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to contribute to the further transformation of our intelligence community.
Thank you.
I support this, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Farah Maalim, 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I also want to add my voice in support of this motion. I have known personally Noordin from the time he was very young, and I am convinced any country, for a country to prosper and for a country to have a proper security machinery, we must have an intelligence service that is perfect in every sense of the word. We cannot eliminate the scourge of Al-Shabaab and the kind of insecurities we have in this country unless we have somebody whom we have all a lot of trust in. And I'm sure Noordin is that very person.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker.
Otieno Amolo.
Mr. Speaker, I support the motion based on the law. Mr. Speaker, I have looked carefully at Section 6 and 7 of the Act and Articles 238 and 239 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, what is required of an holder of this office is in terms of learning, experience, and trust. It is not the same requirement as the office of the DPP, for which even those who opposed his appointment had raised issues of independence and impartiality. In fact, I think that we must thank Mr. Haji, because anyone who may have had an issue, and it is in court, so I will not comment on it, then has an opportunity now to debate a new DPP, because he has left 4 years earlier. But on this, it's not an independent office that requires all those other things. It only requires gaining the trust of Kenyans, gaining the trust of this nation.
Thank you. I will indulge the member for Ijara. Oh, Goja, I had mentioned KJ. Yes, KJ, 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand to support the report that has been presented by the Chairman of Defense. And Mr. Speaker, by passing the appointment of Noordin Haji, we shall actually be doing what this country needs to be doing. We shall be rewarding merit, Mr. Speaker. But that is not why I rise, Mr. Speaker. I rise to say that the task that is on the hands of Mr. Noordin Haji is greater than what we even imagine. In a new world, Mr. Speaker, intelligence will require that we apply new technologies, we apply new and emerging trends in intelligence gathering, Mr. Speaker. So it is to tell Mr. Haji as he takes office that he needs to look into the new space of artificial intelligence, of robotics, of emerging technologies, so that he can up the game of intelligence in this country, and we can end up being a pilot and a case study.
Time up. Member for Ijara, 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this time. Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this time. On behalf of Ijara people, I am grateful and indeed honored to thank His Excellency the President for appointing us one of our son to head the security docket. The people of Ijara are proud to have one of their sons to be nominated for the said position.
Thank you.
And Mr. Speaker, Noordin Haji is a competent man with integrity whose capacity is never in doubt. And when he's worked at the DPP and the Deputy Director of Counterintelligence, he received integrity awards and gained confidence and trust of Kenyans. I welcome his appointment, and I urge and request colleagues across the political divide to consider his approval, and we say thank you very much.
Lastly, the minority leader. The minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, let me add my voice to this motion.
Yes, Wanjala, what is out of order? And it better be a point of order. Yes, sir. Give him a microphone. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My point of order, Mr. Speaker, many of us members of Parliament and of this House who represent Kenyans, we have a lot of interest in this debate of the promotion of this.
What is out of order, Wanjala?
What is out of order, Mr. Speaker, is that you have severally picked on Somalis and you have excluded us, and you want to finish the speech.
Order, Wanjala. Order, Wanjala. Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable Wanjala. Order, members. Order. Honorable Wanjala, there are no Somalis in this house. We only have members of parliament. And you are totally out of order in trying to profile your colleagues in a tribal manner. In fact, if you are talking of ethnicity, the member for Ugunja that I've given this floor does not fall in your profile. Wandai, proceed.
Nothing, I apologize, nothing.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, let me be very brief. And to add my voice to this motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to say from the outset that I have no objection to this appointment. And I would just really want to urge the incoming DG of NIS to live true to the oath of office that he will be taking, and to ensure that indeed he gives priority to the security of the nation. Mr. Speaker, we have had in the past serious incidents of terrorism in this country, and I must commend the outgoing DG, Mr. Kamweru, that under very, very difficult circumstances, he was at least able to rein in rampant terrorism or terrorist acts within our country, Mr. Speaker, or within our
Give the leader of minority an extra minute.
I was saying that Mr. Kameru was able to rein in terrorism within the borders of the Republic. And I suppose that Mr. Haji will be able to do the same and, in fact, do better. Mr. Speaker, this House appropriates colossal sums of money. This House appropriates a lot of money year in, year out to the NIS. And that money is appropriated for the sole purpose of capacitating the institution for it to be able to execute its mandate without any hindrance. Mr. Speaker, therefore, as we conclude this debate, I suppose that this country will be safer under the new leadership of the NIS. Thank you. Thank you.
Honorable members, the chair of Kewopa is protesting that too few ladies have spoken on this. I'll give to Mishimbogo 1 minute. Mishimbogo.
Asante sana. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi naunga mkono kuteuliwa kwa Nurdin Haji katika kitengo cha huduma ya ujasusi wa kitaifa, na namunga mkono kwa sababu tajriba ya kielimu amefuzu, na pia uzoefu na uweledi wa mambo ya usalama na ujasusi ameweza kufuzu, na amefanya kazi katika vitengo tofauti tofauti. Tunajua yeye atatuwezesha haswa pia kupunguza misimamo mikali ile tunasema extremism, mambo yale tunazungumzia ya Al-Shabaab. Tunajua yeye katika mambo ya ujasusi ameweza kufuzu, na pia hana dosari katika mambo ya uongozi na uadilifu. Vile vile pia hajawahi kuhukumiwa katika shutuma yoyote ya kijinai ama pia katika mambo ya uhalifu. Tunajua anaweza na ana tajriba ya kuweza kuongoza taifa la Kenya katika mambo ya usalama na ujasusi, kutupatia.
Your time is up. Now move to reply.
How many minutes, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, from honorable colleagues, there is a lot of attention, and for the first time, almost 100% consensus on the person of Nurdin Haji. I want to appreciate my members, honorable colleagues, for such a good job. I want to also, at the same breath, thank the former DG, the exiting one, Kameru, Major General, for a good job that he did when he took the helm of NIS. With Nurdin coming in, I just want to wish him all the best, and I beg to reply.
Thank you, honorable members. Sorry for those who wanted to speak but didn't speak. I know that many of you wanted to speak to this. When you go to the Committee of Supply, there's an item on NIS. You can edge in on that and speak to what you wanted to say. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as Director General of the National Intelligence Service, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 6 June 2023, and pursuant to Section 7(3)(b) of the National Intelligence Service Act 2012, this House approves the appointment of Mr. Nuruddin Mohammed Haji, OGW CBS, as the Director General of the National Intelligence Service. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? No. The ayes have it.
Order number 9, special motion.
Hold on. Honorable members, Wanjala is in his absolute right to shout himself hoarse. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge in the public and speakers' galleries the following institutions visiting Parliament: Makueni boys from Makueni, constituency Makueni; Oshol Academy from Nyali, Mombasa; Katangi Secondary from Yata, Machakos; Migaa Primary from Kipipiri, Nyandarua; Ithanga Secondary from Mosop, Nandi. On your behalf and on behalf of the House of Parliament and myself, we welcome the schools to the House this afternoon. Next order.
Order number 9, special motion, consideration of nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission.
Honorable members, the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. This motion will also be debated for 30 minutes as directed by House Business Committee. Chairperson. Yes. You are the Vice Chair? The member for Kirinyaga?
Nominee. Honorable Speaker, I could see you were looking for Murugara, or the Vice Chair.
For Murugara, yes.
I am the acting chair.
You are the imitation of Murugara. Go on.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the motion that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 8th June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 171(2)(h) of the Constitution and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as members of the Judicial Service Commission: Ms. Caroline Zilani Kingoku Ajuoga and Honorable Isaac Ruto Kiprono Ruto, EGH. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the reports of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on the approval hearing of Ms. Caroline Zilani and Honorable Isaac Kiprono Ruto, nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, and that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 8th June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 171(2)(h) of the Constitution and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as members of the Judicial Service Commission: Ms. Caroline Zilani and Honorable Isaac Kiprono Ruto. Honorable Speaker, the report contains proceedings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs during the approval hearing of Ms. Caroline Zilani and Honorable Isaac Kiprono Ruto, as forwarded by His Excellency the President and communicated to the House by the Speaker on Wednesday, 3rd May 2023. Honorable Speaker, in considering the nominees' appointment, the committee paid due regard to the procedure used to arrive at the nominees, the constitutional and/or statutory requirements relating to the office in question, and the suitability of the nominees for appointment proposed, having regard to whether the nominees' abilities, experience, and qualities meet the needs of the said offices. Honorable Speaker, the committee noted that in accordance with the relevant laws, the Judicial Service Commission notified His Excellency, the President, of the two vacancies in the membership of the Commission by letters reference number JSC 8 dated 8th November 2023 and reference number JSC 8 dated 3rd March 2023. Honorable Speaker, the committee was guided by the constitutional and statutory requirements such as the national values and principles of governance, conduct of state officers, specific qualifications for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission, and leadership and integrity prerequisites. Honorable Speaker, the suitability of the nominees was assessed after scrutiny of their background, academic credentials, and professional qualifications, work, and professional experience, personal integrity, as well as their performance during the approval hearing conducted by the committee on Thursday, 25th of April, 2023, upon which the committee observed that the procedure used to arrive at the nominees was lawful and in compliance with Article 171(2)(h) of the Constitution of Kenya. The nominees met the constitutional and statutory requirements prescribed by the law. Ms. Caroline Kingoku, being a human resource management expert with a vast experience in dealing with the conditions of service, disciplinary process, and the training and development of employees, and Honorable Isaac Kiprono Ruto, EGH, having been a public servant and an active participant in public life, possesses the relevant experience for the position of members of the JSC representing the public. Mr. Speaker, the nominees also exhibited an understanding of the current issues affecting the judiciary in the dispensation of justice from the perspective of the common mwananchi. Honorable Speaker, it is for this reason that on behalf of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, that I move this motion on the consideration of the nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, I beg and move to request Honorable Wakili Edward Moreu of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to second this motion. Thank you.
Wakili Moreu, second in 3 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to second this motion of the appointment of the proposed nominees in the Judicial Service Commission, namely Caroline Nzelani Kingoku Ajuoga and Honorable Isaac Kiprono Ruto. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a member of this committee, we took time to ensure that, number one, we remain very focused in terms of the provisions of the law, in particular on Article 171, 2H of the Constitution, and also Section 88, subsection 1 of the Public Appointments of the Parliamentary Approvals Act 2011. Mr. Speaker, sir, in view to the extremely demanding role these two members, we had to ensure that, number one, Mr. Speaker, sir, they are academically qualified. And starting with Caroline Nzelani Kingoku Ajuoga, Mr. Speaker, sir, it's good to mention that Caroline is the head of human resource in NCBA Bank, which employs over 4,000 members of staff. Mr. Speaker, sir, Judicial Service Commission is a service industry, and their strength is the quality of the members of staff in terms of motivation to ensure they are serving Kenyans the way it's supposed to be.
And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say, Madam Caroline Nzelani Kengoku Ajoga will bring a lot of experience to the Judicial Service Commission in terms of managing their HRs, make sure that the staff are motivated, making sure that the issues about missing files are over, making sure that the corruption is addressed properly, and therefore we expect a well-motivated judiciary. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, Isaac Kiprono Ruto comes in as the servant of the people. He's a well-known member, or he has served as member of parliament for many years. He has also served as a governor of Kericho for one term. My apologies, Mr. Speaker, sir. He has served as a governor of Obet for 5 years. He is a renowned stickler to the law. He was part of the process in terms of constitutional amendment 2010. And there, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to second this motion and say this, that the members proposed herein are fit and proper to serve Judicial Service Commission. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. I now propose the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 8th June 2023, and pursuant to provisions of Article 171(2)(h) of the Constitution and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as members of the Judicial Service Commission, JSC. 1. Ms. Caroline Nzelani Kingoku Ajoga. 2. Honorable Isaac Kiprono Ruto, EGH. Member for Chebalungu.
Of course. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And as I stand to support this motion, I want to categorically thank the members of JLAC for a proper consideration of the two nominees.
Doubt, you have 2 minutes each.
Well guided, Mr. Speaker. I stand here today to support the proposal for the approval of the two nominees, and specifically, I would want to mention about Honorable Isaac Ruto, who is my immediate party leader, and for that fact, he is now resigned as the party leader, and probably members of this House beginning today, as I am the senior most politician in the party, I am going to be one of the party leaders, and I would really wish that I be recognized so by my colleague members of parliament. You remember Isaac Ruto as one of the greatest persons. In fact, in my constituency, you cannot mention a paragraph without touching the name of Isaac Ruto. He has done a lot in regards to school, in regards to education in my constituency. While he was the chairman of the Governors of Council, the first chairman in that matter, he is the only person who can be remembered as having done what was required of him. I know the independence that is required by the judiciary, and I know him as a person who is so independent in his mind. I have no doubt that he's going to give the best service. For this, Mr. Speaker, I would wish to urge my colleagues that we all stand up and support these great persons as they go to serve our nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jared Okello.
I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I welcome the decision to have Ajuoga appearing in the list. But the name Ruto is becoming too much into this country, very synonymous with the prevailing appointments, Honorable Speaker, and therefore in line with our constitutional dictates, we have to rethink this idea of Kenyanness in appointive positions, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, JSC is a very important component in dispensation of justice into this country. Judges get appointed through JSC, magistrates get appointed through JSC, and when a government turns rogue, and there is nothing stopping this from becoming so, it is only the courts of law that can apply brakes to a rogue government, Honorable Speaker. I am very afraid, and this is an emerging trend within this House, that debate is curtailed by people who constantly say, put the question. Honorable Speaker, what happened to the debates within this House, Honorable Speaker? And that is why people residing in State House have the temerity to tell us how to vote a particular way on bills coming to this House, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I challenge this House to step back, reflect, and retool as they discharge their mandate given to them by the people of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. I support the appointment of Ajuoga in this respect, Honorable Speaker, and I thank you. And not Ruto.
The Honorable Pukose.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I stand to support the appointment of Honorable Isaac Kibrono Ruto as a member to the to the Judicial Service Commission, having served as a distinguished governor for Bomet, having been a minister in the past, and having been a member of this House. Honorable Isaac Ruto is a distinguished member, and we know that he will be able to serve the Judicial Service Commission with distinction and with honor. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Yes, okay. You've just spoken. What's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, with due respect, I withdraw any inference on the person of Kiprono Isaac Ruto, Honorable Speaker. As a member of Parliament, Honorable Speaker, he was part of us in this House before he moved to become a governor and ultimately getting this appointive position at the JSC, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I support his appointment as a former colleague. I support his appointment as somebody who has what it takes to become a member of Judicial Service Commission. And therefore, I withdraw the inference that I did make a while back. And I thank you for
Jared.
the opportunity.
It is only men of great honor who can own up to their mistakes. Thank you. Ruku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the appointment of the two very distinguished Kenyans. His Excellency Ruto, the former governor of Bomet, what's the name of that? And the second appointee. Mr. Speaker, you realize the appointment which are forwarded to this House by the President are to the point. And we thank His Excellency for giving this nation proper people who can be able to serve this nation with integrity and commitment and diligence. Mr. Speaker, you will realize that this commission is very important in terms of promoting the recommendation of judges, the review of the service conditions of the judicial officers, as well as the staffing the judiciary. We need a very competent judiciary for the purposes of administration of justice in our country. I support the both appointment of Isaac Ruto as well as Carol Ajuoga, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a lady. I'm looking for a lady. The Honorable... No. So that the lady from Kajiado doesn't protest. I was looking for a lady. I don't see any. I'll give the floor to David Bowen Marakwet.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to support the two commissioners, Honorable Speaker, to the Judicial Service Commission. And Honorable Speaker, Judicial Service Commission is very important, especially to the judiciary arm of the government. The Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to support especially the nomination of Isaac Ruto, the former governor of Bomet. Mr. Speaker, the man I know, whom we have worked together in many fields. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Isaac Ruto, when he was the chair of Council of Governors, the Honorable Isaac Ruto fought hard to make sure that resources and the devolution worked, Honorable Speaker, especially at a very difficult time when we were implementing our first constitution, the 2010 constitution. Mr. Speaker, I hope the Honorable Isaac Ruto will go to the Judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission with the same strength and the same courage we see when he was the chair of Council of Governors, to make sure that the Judicial Service Commission and generally the judiciary, Mr. Speaker, functions especially in defense of justice. Mr. Speaker, with Judicial Service Commission, we would also want to see that High Court's Honorable Speaker has established all across the sub-counties in the country. Mr. Speaker, I want to support the two commissioners. Thank you.
Member for Lugari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raise to support the motion for appointment of the two. Mr. Speaker, I've had an opportunity to work with His Excellency Isaac Ruto. Two important things about Ruto: his independence of mind. The second point that I support Isaac for is that he's very meticulous and clear to detail. We have very few people who take time to read through documents word for word. Isaac is such a person. The Judicial Service Commission in Kenya has suffered because lack of a person who understands human resource management. I therefore support the appointment of a joker that she's going to bring into the Judicial Service Commission a competence that has been lacking. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Toto. Okay. Give the microphone to the women rep for Bomet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. I also rise to support the two members for their appointments. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support Mheshimiwa Isaac Ruto, having been served as the Member of Parliament for Chepalungu constituency. He was also our first governor in Bomet County. He was also the chair of the governors in the council. He has been serving as the minister. Mr. Speaker, I support the appointment of Mheshimiwa Isaac Ruto. I know he's equal up to the task and he has got the experience. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Sorry. Thank you, the Honorable Kagusha. Honorable Kagusha.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. As a member of JLAC, I sat in the committee where we were able to vet these two candidates. And I want to confirm indeed, we found these two candidates suitable for this position as commissioners in JSC. Honorable Ruto, as a former governor, seasoned civil servant, a person who has served this country at different levels, is indeed highly qualified to be a member of JSC. especially because he brings with him a wealth of experience and also is able to guide and able to also help this country in matters justice. And I'm sure that we're going to be in a good position when we have the former governor, Isaac Ruto, as a member of JSC. Honorable Speaker, we also have the young lady who also brings youthfulness in the JSC, and we are very happy that Caroline is actually a person who is very well experienced on HR matters. And as Mr. Speaker, as you're aware, in JSC we require to have a well-versed person with HR experience so that we can be able to equip and give personnel to all our courts across the country. As you know, this is one of the areas where we need to boost our justice system. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Member for Luanda. Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity given to me. I rise to support the nomination of the two people having gone through the Departmental Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs, Mr. Speaker. Judicial Service Commission is such an important commission because it is charged with hiring and discipline matters of officers in the judiciary. We need men and women who are independent, men and women of high integrity, people who can stand by their decision, Mr. Speaker. And looking at the people that have been proposed, one, Honorable Isaac Ruto, having been a member of this House, having stood or been part of the Council of Governors, and having been a leader in this country, Mr. Speaker, he comes out as a man who is an independent man, as a man who is above petty issues, Mr. Speaker. I therefore join my colleagues in supporting and appreciating the work done by the Departmental Committee and do support the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your time.
Rahim Daud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to support both the nominees, but especially the governor, the prior governor for Bomet, Honorable Isaac Ruto. Honorable Isaac Ruto has proved himself beyond reasonable doubts, and he will go a long way to work with my sister, the CJ Martha Kome, who comes from my constituency. I know they will hit it off, and I know when with Isaac Ruto there, the experience he has in the public service, he will do a good job there, Honorable Speaker, and as well as the young lady, Ms. Caroline, I believe she will infuse the youngness in the Judicial Service Commission, and with that, Honorable Speaker, I support and hope that we can work with both the nominees who will be there to support the JSC. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Alice Nganga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the two nominees, especially, Mr. Speaker, because the gender rule has been met here. We have a lady and we have a gentleman. A lady who is going to add value to that institution of JSC, as well as Honorable Isaac Ruto, His Excellency. Mr. Speaker, we know when the functions were being devolved at the county level, Honorable Isaac Ruto was the chair, and he made sure that those functions were fully devolved. And at that time, Honorable Speaker, he did not give in even to the pressure. He insisted that whatever was meant to be devolved at the county level went to the county. And he made sure that the Council of Governors, whatever they discussed and they deliberated on, was well established and it was well fulfilled. And they were able to engage with the national government at that level. So I know he's going to add his rich experience at the JSC. So these two appointments I support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Konga Samuel.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much. First, I would like to support
this motion. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to speak concerning the Honorable Isaac Ruto. Isaac Ruto, Mr. Speaker, lived in my constituency before he left for Chebalungu. I hear Honorable Mandasi claiming that he belongs to that place. His last post office address was 1073 Kipkabos, which is in my constituency, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this gentleman, I've known him for some time. And while I was at the university, he was the director for USA. And you know, Mr. Speaker, the so-called chapatis were very popular with the students. And he ensured that we had chapatis every Wednesday. And Mr. Speaker, you can imagine how popular they were. But he ensured that we were served very well. So if you are looking for somebody with experience, Mr. Speaker, to serve, this is the man. Mr. Speaker, we are looking for a person who will go to the judiciary to ensure that this division that we have had between the judiciary and the legislature is completely removed, Mr. Speaker. We have suffered as a consequence of not having our own in the judiciary. Mr. Speaker, this is one man.
Informed by Robert Bukose?
Yes, in fact, he has good information.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to let Yepkonga know that we used not to call it chapati. It was called dialogue.
That's true, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Bukose has spoken for the first time. He always speaks, but this one is a better one. So, Mr. Speaker, I support the appointment of the Honorable Isaac Ruto. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Maklap, I'll come to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the two nominees, especially Isaac Brono Ruto, a man that I have known to be very meticulous with the truth. Isaac Ruto takes truthfulness to judiciary. Isaac Ruto is a man of his own words that I have known him even before I came to Parliament, that this is the right person to join the Judicial Service Commission with a young lady called Caroline Zilani. So, Speaker, Isaac Ruto has served this country, he has experience, he has knowledge, and I hope he is going to inject judiciary with a mind of machinani, of devolving justice to our constituencies, to be able to complete the stalled high courts in our constituencies or in our counties. Isaac Ruto, when will be approved, Mr. Speaker, will be able to be the engine of judiciary together with the other team so that the justice are seen and to be done at the lowest level where citizens of this country will be able to get justice at their closed door. I am a believer of a man that is meticulous for the truth for Kenya, and I am sure judiciary has the right mind and the right experience to actually inject new energy for the survival of Judicial Service Commission. I end it there and say, may we rise to support the two candidates. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jen Kihara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance to support this motion where we have a veteran leader. We know Isaac Ruto stands tall in leadership of this country at many, many levels. He was the first chairman of COG, governors. But what he did, in fact, Isaac Ruto, in his second term, he was elected unopposed because he worked so well. He was formidable. He made sure devolution worked. For the young lady, I may not know her, but I will support her very, very vehemently because we have had issues with gender balance in this country. So as long as we have a woman and this great Kenyan in the name of Isaac Ruto, I support the motion and propose hope that he is going to be as vigorous as he has been, because he doesn't mince his words. He talks what he believes in, and this is the kind of person we need. I support.
Member for Kwanza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion, and it is said that experience is the best teacher. I have known Isaac Ruto for quite some time. Politically, he's somebody who's very, very well versed, and I remember he has come up to my constituency. I went to his constituency, and when he stood for election, he went unopposed. This is a man who will bring a lot of wealth, a lot of experience to the department, and I think this house doesn't need to actually depend on him. I don't know about the other lady, but because Ruto is somebody we know very well, Isaac Ruto, Mr. Speaker, I think we should be able to just say let him go and bring experience in Chilak. With those few remarks, I support the motion.
Dr. Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the two candidates. And Mr. Speaker, I must appreciate you for allowing us to discuss these two candidates. Mr. Speaker, this is the role of the House. It is a debating institution. I do appreciate that. I support the two candidates. The report that we have got from the committee indicates that they fully qualify, both of them. As for Mr. Honorable Isaac Ruto, we all know his zeal. He worked very hard as the chair of the Council of Governors when devolution started, and we hope that we believe that he will bring the same vigor in the judiciary, except that in the Council of Governors, something that he should have done that didn't do was to actually establish the Governmental Relations Technical Committee, which up to now is not working efficiently and not working in harmony with the Secretariat of the Council of Governors. I think he should look into the judiciary, and should he find similar disharmonies, clear them out so that we benefit from his zeal and his expertise. I support Mr. Speaker.
Johanna Ngeno.
Thank you, Speaker. On the onset, I wish to support the two nominees, Speaker, to this particular position. Remember, Mr. Speaker, that the judicial system in the country at times faces some problems, and I believe the two nominees will help in correcting some of the issues that we have in the judiciary. Speaker, I personally know Isaac Ruto, who is a former governor of Bomet, as a diligent man, a straightforward person, and who understands the law, since he actually participated in the constitutional making of 2010. I believe the experience that he has, even including all those times he was working as a minister and a short stint and as a member of parliament, he has the capacity to help steer the Judicial Service Commission in the right direction and help actually in guiding the judiciary in their workings. So, Mr. Speaker, I just wish to state that I support, and I wish to thank you.
Hillary Kosgei. Yes, Roku, what is the point of order?
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable John Angeno is a man who arrested police officers, 3 of them, on Saturday in Narok. Instead of him getting arrested by police officers, he arrested 3 of them.
What is out of order?
It's completely out of order, Mr. Speaker, to have such kind of behavior.
Order,
instead of him succumbing.
Order, Ruku. You have no capacity to rule any member out of order. That is the preserve of the chair. Hillary, carry on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join other members, Mr. Speaker, in supporting the appointment of His Excellency Isaac Ruto and Madam Caroline Nzelani, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Isaac Ruto is a household name in this country because of the energy and commitment that he puts in whatever appointment that is given, Mr. Speaker. As the first governor of Bomet and the chair of the Council of Governors, Mr. Speaker, Isaac Ruto displayed leadership, Mr. Speaker, that is equally needed in our judiciary now. And Mr. Speaker, if there was a moment that the messes that are in the judiciary were to be corrected, they will be corrected under the leadership of Governor Isaac Ruto. Mr. Speaker, much has been said about Governor Isaac Ruto, but Mr. Speaker, Isaac Ruto is an illustrious Kipsigis son and a darling of the people of Bomet and Kericho County, Mr. Speaker, and therefore this is a very consequential appointment to our community. Mr. Speaker, I beg to support.
Yes, Haika. Honorable Haika.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me this opportunity. And from the onset, I also want to support the report. I want to support the two nominees. And I also want to speak about Isaac Ruto, having known him for some time. I know he brings a wealth of experience, and being the first chairperson of the Council of Governors and the governor of Bomet as well, we know he's up to the task, and therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support the report and I support it. Thank you very much.
Edith Nyenze.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to support the two nominees, Caroline Nzelani and Isaac Ruto. First of all, I support the nomination because there is gender balance. There is in the nomination of the two, there is gender balance, and therefore I support. Again, I support because Caroline Nzelani is a professional who has done human resource, who was end of human resource management, and therefore it brings on the table the most management of the most important asset, which is human resource, or human is the most important asset in an organization. Therefore, I know that Caroline, with her experience, should be able to treat the people of Kenya with justice. And also the other thing why I support is because Isaac Ruto, having a person who has an independent mind, I pray that when he gets into this commission, that you bring continuous improvement and innovation in and Judicial Service Commission, so that in this commission we'll see impartiality and independence of this JSC. Therefore, I support the nomination of the two. Thank you.
James Koyo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I want to add my voice on top of my colleagues for supporting the nomination of Honorable Isaac Ruto and Madam Ajuoga for this illustrious position that they've been considered with. I remember Honorable Ruto will come in with a lot of value, being a man who has his own legs to stand on. He has demonstrated this, those who know him very well, even during the late Daniel Arap Moi's dispensation. He had really difficulties with the President Moi himself because he has his own decision to make. And even when, with the last two elections, he has refused, Isaac Ruto, refused to follow suit his Kalenjin community going into the same one direction because the man of his own choice, who has his own legs to stand on. We have several challenges in the Judicial Service Commission, and we need people like like-minded, like Isaac Ruto, to step in and add value. I support the nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Koyo. Justice Kemei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity you've given me. From the onset, Mr. Speaker, I wish to express my support for the appointment of the two persons to the Judicial Service Commission. Mr. Speaker, I have read the report, but I know more about Isaac Ruto. Much as he has an independent mind, Mr. Speaker, this is one person who believes in consultative approach to issues. So I believe that special attribute, because my colleagues have mentioned about the rest, will make Isaac Ruto an asset in the delivery of justice in this country. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, and so as to give my colleagues the opportunity to also say something, I support. Thank you.
Honorable Melly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the report, and more specifically of the two candidates, Honorable Speaker, because of I've seen and read the report by the committee and found out that actually the two candidates are very suitable. More specifically, Isaac Ruto, Honorable Speaker, is a household name in this republic, more so on devolution, on the issues of human rights and fighting for the rights of the devolved units. I thank you and I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, that Kirima? Oh, the member behind Rindikiri. Yes, give him the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity so that I can add also my voice and also say that Chailak have done a commendable job by nominating the two, Honorable Isaac Ruto and Caroline. I want to say that specifically Isaac Ruto, Mr. Speaker, is a man with a lot of experience. And he comes, and I know the judiciary have been trying to make sure that they tackle those cases. And Mr. Speaker, I know that with the coming in of Mr. Ruto, or Governor Ruto is going to do a lot with his colleague. So otherwise, I stand to support and say that Chailak have done a commendable job. And I support Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Is it Elgeyo? Yes, yourself, sir. Member for Bomet.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to weigh in on this very golden moment whereby I beg to support also the nomination of Isaac Ruto. Isaac Ruto, Mr. Speaker, has been a very charismatic leader, and coming from my county, he has been a very perfect leader during his reign as the governor of our county. I want to say, Honorable Isaac Ruto has demonstrated very well his leadership from the time he became the member of parliament of Jebalungu, and he repeated again coming back as a member of parliament in the same constituency until he became the governor for Bomet. Mr. Speaker, Isaac Ruto also has demonstrated during the time when he was a governor that he was the first leader of the Council of Governors, and true to his agitation of the devolution, he led the governors in making sure that all the resources are devolved to the counties. I beg to support the two leaders who have been nominated, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Yegon. Lisa Chelule. Okay. Give the microphone to Lisa Chelule. You are giving everybody except Lisa Chelule.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kunipatia nafasi pia kuunga mkono wenzangu ambaye wameunga hawa watendakazi wawili, Bwana Ruto na huyu msichana ambaye wako pamoja kututendea kazi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Nasema hivi Bwana Spika, sababu sisi wote tumepata kujua mheshimiwa aliyekuwa Mheshimiwa Isaac Ruto wa Bomet wakati ingine alichaguliwa kuwa mjumbe, na wakati ambaye ilifuata pia akachaguliwa kuwa governor wa Bomet. Na kazi ambaye alifanya Bwana Spika ni kazi mzuri sana. Huyu ni kiongozi ambaye tunaelewa kwamba alikasa mambo ya ukatuzi sana. Ni kiongozi ambaye alitatua shida kule Bomet. Naelewa Bwana Spika, kuna siku moja kulikuwa na communities wawili walikuwa wamekosana, upande wa Sotik, upande wa Porabu. Yeye ndiye alikuwa akiongoza maongeo katikati ya communities. Huyu ni kiongozi ambaye anaonekana hana mpaka kwa kazi yake. Kwa hivyo sisi kama wajumbe tunamsupport ama tunaunga mkono kiongozi ambaye ataunganisha watu wetu ya nchi yetu wa Kenya, na tunajua kazi ambaye atapatiwa atafanya kwa njia mzuri. Kwa niaba ya watu ya Nakuru na kwa niaba yangu mimi mwenyewe ninaunga mkono apate kazi. Asante sana.
Silvano Zosoro.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support this report by the committee. Honorable Speaker, I happen to sit in that particular committee and I attended all the sittings during the vetting process of Honorable Isaac Ruto and the other nominee. And what came out, Honorable Speaker, is that despite, there is a misconception about people who are actively involved in politics. Many a times the public tends to think that when you are actively involved in matters politics, you lose your professional line. But what came out during the vetting, Honorable Speaker, is that people like Honorable Isaac Ruto are professionals in their own rights. And when given an opportunity in a professional line, they will exercise their duties with utmost commitment, without bias, and with a lot of focus. And Isaac Ruto displayed such personality that is needed, and that vigor that is needed to revamp and to grow the Judicial Service Commission. And with that, Honorable Speaker, it's important for this House to pass them, and that can actually be seen from the overwhelming support that members are actually airing. And for that reason, Honorable Speaker, I support the report. Thank you.
Kawanjiku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this motion. And I like to support the JRAC committee for sitting down and coming up with this report and making sure that even the House, the character of people that they are proposing, they are people who are beyond. People like Isaac Ruto, he has been